מטל השמיים אוי ומשמני הארץ ורוב דגן בתירוש וייתן לך אלוהים מטל השמיים אוי ומשמני הארץ ורוב דגן בתירוש וייתן לך אלוהים מטל השמיים אוי ומשמני הארץ ורוב דגן בתירוש דרירה לה 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 These are the words from this Parshat. These are the words, the bracha that Yaakov Avinu got from his father Yitzchak. This is an old Moshe Tzir tune from the Moshe Tzir Rebbe, and these words are the bracha that was passed down. וייתן לך האלוהים מטל השמיים אוי ומשמני הארץ ורוב דגן בתירוש וייתן לך מטל השמיים אוי ומשמני הארץ ורוב דגן בתירוש. You know, there's a big difference between tal and rain, dew and rain. We look at dew and we kind of take it for granted because it's always there. Dew's there in summer, winter. And rain is there, hopefully in the winter season. But Rabbi Shlomo says that, I think it's in Yeshaya, that God says, Eheye ketal Yisrael. I'm going to be like tal for Am Yisrael, not just like rain. Because even though we don't appreciate it as much, and it's not as special when something is always there, but dew is always there. We want friends that are always there, not that show up when things get really exciting or when things are really bad. When friends that are there both when it's exciting and also when it's bad. So that's what it is. V'yiten lecha Elokim mital hashamayim. The bracha from Yitzchak to Yaakov is that Kadosh Baruch Hu should give you, just like the Rebbeinu Shleilam lets you know, He's always there. Mital hashamayim. A yid has to walk the streets of this world with this bracha. B'chol tzaratam lo tzar, also in pain, and also in real simcha. It doesn't change. It's an always friend, not a sometimes friend. Mital hashamayim. V'yitein lecha Elokim mital hashamayim oy umishmanei haaretz verov dagan betirosh v'yitein lecha Elokim השמיים היו משמני הארץ ורוב דגן ותידוש תידה לה 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 אי די דה תידה די 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 אי די Beautiful. It's a beautiful harmony. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us here at our house, and also all this beautiful chevra I see that are with us tonight. Rabbi Shiva. We continue another week, Baruch Hashem, to get to learn. We get to learn Leilui Nishmas, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yeshua, and another week of learning for the Refuah Shlema of whoever can insert the names, whoever needs a Refuah Shlema, and another week of making sure that we don't just feel Shabbos Friday afternoon, that we feel Shabbos now already. So that's very special. There are these monumental moments in life which change the shape of everything we go through, and we're usually unaware of these moments. I'm not talking about when you get married. Hopefully you're aware, you're conscious. Hopefully. Or other very special moments in life. What's that?
It's debatable.
It's debatable, yeah.
Somewhere.
There are, I'm not talking about these monumental occasions. That's not what we're referring to. Referring to these moments in life that if they hadn't happened, and you don't even remember it, it could be that everything in life would have been shaped differently. Your whole life. If it wasn't for some mysterious or non-mysterious person showing up at exactly a specific moment, which then continued a certain path which changes everything. And it doesn't matter what age you're at, you could look back when you're 19 or when you're 40 or 70, and then look back, and we usually don't even see those moments because we don't remember them, yet they played the most crucial moments. In Tanakh, we see it all over the place. And that's why Rabbi Shlomo, when we did like 2 weeks ago, I think in Vayera, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, where we took one pasuk or two psukim, also last week really, with Eliezer and Rivka, and the manner in which you ask for water and then receive water. You look at a pasuk that we learn every year, and you realize if every detail, one detail was missing from that whole story of how everything took place over there, between Eliezer and Rivka, then Yiddishkeit wouldn't have continued the way it did. In every story in the Tanakh, especially in Sefer Bereshit, there is this matter, there's this one point in every story that if this was missing, even though it doesn't seem like it's the biggest deal, things would have continued the way it is. It's a gift, it's a beautiful thing, it's a very special thing when Hashem gives you a little bit of like this holy flashback, when you look back. You're like, oh my God, if that guy didn't show up then, or if I didn't go to that library and see that book then, even though I forgot about that, because only big life decisions are the ones that last, right? But it's not true. For instance, I always say this, like, my family, we moved a lot as children. I moved a lot as a kid. I moved at the age of 2, at the age of 3, I moved at the age of 3, at the age of 4, at the age of 9, at the age of 16, at the age of 17, at the age of 18, and 22. I moved a lot. And I keep on trying to remember, like, there must have been so many different people. I have little, like, I call them little elves. I have like an Australian elf, and I have an elf in Riverdale. Like, there mamish are these elves who really play one role in your life, and they shape everything. But when I was growing up in high school, there was a kid We moved out of Israel a little bit after this happened. Had we not have stayed, had we would have stayed in Israel and not moved to Los Angeles then, before a certain kid, a random kid, moved to our neighborhood. The kid looked very weird. He didn't move to our neighborhood, he moved to my class. He looked a little bit weird. He had payas. Who has payas? What's payas? Growing up in Ranana, who had payas? No one had payas, right? And yet, this kid whose parents had just gotten divorced, and he, on his own, as a single child, just started getting into the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and Rabbi Shlomo moves to my classroom, sits in class during recess, and doesn't leave to play ball or anything, till I get up and ask him one day, how come you're not coming outside with us? What are you listening to all the time? He says, you want to know what I'm listening to? And he just put the earphones on, and everything was different because some kid moved to a class, and I asked him, why doesn't he come and play ball with us? These people show up all the time in our life. These people show up all the time in life. In the Torah, in a few weeks, it's very clear, although we skip over this all the time. The brothers run away from Yosef, they're done with him. They just go down, do their own thing. Yaakov says, go find them. Yosef goes to look for his brothers, he can't find them. Vayimtza'ehu ish, he finds an ish, the Torah says. Finds a person. Rashi says actually it's Malach Gavriel. Gavriel Malach. Where are my brothers? And he says where they are, and he continues and he finds them. This person isn't mentioned ever again. And that's it, we continue the story. When we think of the brothers and Yosef, we just think of, the jealousy, the pit, the slavery, the selling. What about that one person, the Malach Gavriel, who shows up for one or two psukim, who tells Yosef where the brothers are? And then the story continues because of this one person showing up out of nowhere. It is a beautiful thing in life to stop for a second and look and be blown away how had a certain detail, one detail, out of the 5 million details which led you to wherever you're at now, which is a beautiful place. My wife's house is a beautiful place, I could say that, right? One detail be missing, it could be the whole thing would be done. You would be in a completely different place if it wasn't for one prat, one beautiful detail. Tonight, like in previous weeks, we're going to be going again into the story and read it again, a story which we read every year, but this time we're going to look at this split second which could have changed everything. Now just to explain a little bit further before we go into the text. With the bracha we just sang right now, V'yiten lecha ha'elokim mitala shamayim u'mishmane ha'aretz v'rov dagan v'tirash, this bracha which Yaakov receives from Yitzchak, Rivka knows, Yaakov's mother, Yitzchak's wife knows, that if Yaakov doesn't receive this bracha, you and I, finito, long time ago, there would be no such thing as Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit depended, the existence, Jewish history, this sounds pretty, I know, pretty dramatic, and it is. Jewish history, Jewish history and future, present and future, was all dependent on that one bracha, on Yaakov receiving that bracha and not Esav. But when we look into the story, we see how anything could have gone wrong at any given second. And we're even going to look at a pasuk which we usually just read very fast, and we'll see mamish inside, and I just saw a beautiful thing from the Orach Chaim. We'll see how inside it had to be like this. The appreciation of those things which determine our future, and we're not even aware of it. And it should be a sgula that maybe we should, pay more attention to those moments, definitely to those people who really, now they're in our life all the time, so we don't really realize that if they didn't show up at that moment, where in the world would we be? Where on earth would any of us be? Just for one moment. Lahavdil elaf alfei avdalas. When I moved to Efrat the first time, like when I moved here, when I was a bacher, when I was 22. I moved to Hamiftar. When I met you guys, there was a cool thing called Kaza. Does anyone remember Kaza?
Music downloaders.
Music, there's Napster and Kaza, yeah. Pre-YouTube days, it existed before YouTube. So Kaza was this thing that you could type in a search of something and you'd find all these things and you just download it. Who thought about if it's mutter or us or like just blown away that there's so much available. I was getting more into guitar, so I typed in the word acoustic, thinking I play acoustic guitar. I want to hear acoustic guitar. And I get the chills, the havdil, okay? But I remember I didn't know what I was downloading, and all I heard was that, and I was and literally that was the only reason why my non-Jewish musical Rebbe is my Rebbe for whatever. It's unbelievable. Just because, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm not embarrassed. I'm very happy about it. But that's just because I typed in acoustic. This thing shows up, and there's a whole world of expression that exists now which didn't exist before. Chevra, come on, it's okay. It's not. I know it doesn't sound so from, but it's okay. It's fine. When we did a Neil Young tribute concert,
that was amazing.
So what happened? I was nervous. I didn't want my Rosh Yeshiva or people to know about it. Or not that I didn't want them to know about it, but I didn't think that's the most important thing for people to know in Yeshiva. I'll never forget, I'm at my friend's house for Shabbos, there's a picture in the post, Jonathan put a picture in the post, Katz plays Young. And I'm like, oh, Ribono Shel Olam, please, no. I show up to Yeshiva Sunday morning, the concert's later that week. And I'm like, Ribono Shel Olam, please, maybe I should know, I don't know what to do. And I'm not kidding, I walk up, there's actually a person that used to come to the Shiur and he's not here right now. He was learning there then, and he cut it out and he put it on Rav Bravender's table to give nachas to Shia. He threw it into the paper, and I'm like, oh my God. So I came up to Rav Bravender and I said, Rebbe, listen, I didn't do it yet, you know? He says, Katz, I don't like to talk about things once they're done. I said, but it didn't happen yet. He says, Katz, you're doing it, it's done. So then I said to me, but Rebbe, you know, he doesn't have any dirty language and he doesn't talk about dirty things. He's like, Katz, I know Neil Young. He said it so straight, it was so good. See the power of Kaza and Napster. L'chaim. Rabbi Bravender. So, okay, let's kind of depuring ourselves for a minute and, Yeah, Baruch Hashem. It was good. Yeah, I'll do another one, B'ezrat Hashem. So anyway, so I wanna have this list tonight. I've learned this piece with you. It's in Even Shlomo, the first piece, entitled Worthy. Worthy. If you have Even Shlomo number 1, Worthy, I retitled it in here. If you could share, I don't have enough, unfortunately, I had with the printer before Shiur began, but if you could pass these out, and if you have two, if you guys could share, that'd be very helpful. Okay. I've heard, by the way, just very important, before we look in the text, that Shlomo said, whatever you heard about the story, about the blessings, however you've heard it before in your life, you've heard, obviously Bible critics are very big to slam Yaakov for being a deceiver, for being such a cheater and everything. Rabbi Shlomo says, listen, we give all the excuses in the world for every murderer and thief that ever did anything wrong in the world, like Yemach Shemam, these animals, barbaric, I can't even say, I don't want to say what I want to say. The chevra that are being released now. We've given all the excuses in the world for anything in the world and showing everyone has a second chance yet when it comes to Yaakov Avinu doing something so deceitful, we don't know how to deal with it. So Rabbi Shlomo said, just wipe all of that nourishkeit out of your being, and now let's learn the story again from the first time. Pseder? Let's learn the story of how Yaakov got this bracha again for the first time. L'shem Yichud Kodesh Avreicho. When Yaakov Avinu walked in to receive the blessings from Yitzchak, He was mamish shivering. He barely had strength to walk in. It was not that he was just frightened of Esav. He didn't come in because he was scared of Esav. By then, he had enough faith in his mother Rivka, who told him to do this, which is very important for us to understand Yaakov Avinu's mindset. Yaakov and Rivka, his mother, that relationship is an incredibly delicate and beautiful relationship, which the Torah doesn't go into too much detail. What it does, though, is says that basically Rivka was kind of like, he was a mama's boy. He was a mama's boy his whole life. And whatever his mama said to him, no matter what age he was, he trusts Be'emunah Shlema. His mother Rivka, he's going, and he's following her. So that relationship, we're used to looking at relationships between the spouses, but this mother-son relationship is very important to pay close attention to. He's not walking inside that room shaking because he's scared that Esau's going to come and shecht him. He's scared because Rivka already says, it's all good. You need to have this. Whatever my mother says, I'm listening. When Rivka tells him to get the bracha and that she will take care of his brother Esav, he knows that Esav won't come in during the brachas. So what was frightening Yaakov so much? Oh, this is so beautiful. Tonight, I figured last week was like this heavy duty, very deep. People were emailing all week in Baruch Hashem, but tonight we get a little bit of a treat, a little bit of a I don't want to jinx myself, but I've done that before with this stuff. This is just Noam, sweetness, mamish, Noam zivecha, the sweetness of the Torah. Look at this. I want you to know, the first sign of an evil person is that they're convinced that they are good. People who walk around convinced they are worthy is already a sign that they're evil. Yaakov was mamish so heartbroken. Who am I to receive the holy blessings of my father Yitzchak? That's why he was shivering. He mamish thought, I'm not worthy of the blessing. While Esav says, can you find a worthier person than me? There's a beautiful midrash, friends, that it says that Moshe Rabbeinu was busy going from tent to tent the night before Kabbalas Torah, the night before we received the Torah on Mount Sinai, making sure that everyone was going to come the next morning. So everyone asks why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to go? There was so much preparation, there was so much lead up. Like imagine everything that happened from the time we left Egypt, going through all those miracles, and then those 3 days of like everyone with such excitement. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to go from tent to tent to tell people, you better come tomorrow to Mount Sinai? Because he says that, Rabbi Shlomo says that people really, really understood what it meant to be a Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu by sticking with him through that time. Why? Because the midos of Moshe Rabbeinu, the qualities of Moshe Rabbeinu, his persona and everything about him, went into his Talmidim. What's Moshe Rabbeinu? God says, you're chosen to be the leader of the Jewish people. What does Moshe Rabbeinu say? I'm not worthy. Go to my brother Aaron. The Midrash says he also said, go make sure it's Eliyahu Hanavi, not me. So the night before Matan Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu had to go to every Yid and convince them that they are also worthy to receive the Torah. None of them were planning on showing up. Because when God said, I'm going to give you the Torah, do you know what happened the night before? Do you know what kind of state we were in as an Am? Is that everyone said, oh, my neighbor, they're worthy. They really deserve. Me? Oh, it's not for me. But I'm so happy that they're going to be deserving. They are deserving of the Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu has to work on de-anaving them, just adjusting their humility and saying, no. Because God knows this is what you're thinking right now, that you're not worthy, that's why He wants to give it to you. That's why He wants to give it to you. And that is what Moshe Rabbeinu was doing the night before we got the Torah. So Rabbi Shlomo says, when you walk around thinking you're not worthy, that means you're worthy. Now, this could be tricky. You know why? Because now when I really want something, I know that, hey, this is This is how it works. You have to feel that you're not worthy, and then it comes to you. So we could walk around, beating ourselves up and banging our heads against the wall, saying we're such shmendriks, but every few seconds looking up to see, did it work yet? Is it working or not? But that's not what we're talking about. Like Reb Nachman says, every day a person has to go to the field and cry his eyes out to God. Reb Nachman says, but if you plan that you're going to go to a field and start crying, even if you cry, it means nothing. It's not something that you plan. It's much more than that. It's going beyond yourself. There is no time frame for these moments. You can't plan it. If it's planned, then this deserving and that's not what's happening. Obviously, people that walk around saying, I'm worthy to find my soulmate, even if they get married, and even if it's their soulmate, it's not a blissful zivug if you think you're deserving. We found one recording of Reb Shlomo, I think it was a few weeks after Neshama was born, where he says something frightening. It's a radio program, and I think it's November 1974. And he says something very frightening there. It really scared me. But I realize now what it is. He said, God blessed me. The question was about his life. It's about his life. I forgot what it was. And he started talking, and he said, God in his infinite mercy gave me an undeserving gift to become a father. And then he repeated that, and he said, and I know I don't deserve it, and I know I'm not worthy. I couldn't believe he said this. So, even after you have something, just because you have it, you think, what's your relationship to something even once you get it? Just because you got something, that means you're worthy of it? So I knew I was wrong, because now we're really going to go much deeper. Listen to this. The highest relationship we have to that which Hashem gives me is even after I daven for it, I still don't feel worthy. It's not that I say, well, I must be worthy of what I have because God gave it to me. You're still missing a huge chunk like that. Like, can you, honestly, parents in the room, can you go to your children's bed tonight and look at them and say, I'm worthy of this child? And the ultimate is that a spouse always looks at the other spouse and says, she's not worthy. No, I'm kidding. To always feel. It's an undeserving, unworthy gift. This is Yaakov Avinu. We're named after Yaakov Avinu. Because this bracha, which kept us Yidlach, he felt it was an undeserved, unworthy bracha for him. Who am I? Esav says, is there anyone more mat'im than me to have the bracha? Back inside the text. Third paragraph. Yaakov was absolutely not prepared for the blessing. And suddenly Rivka calls him in and says, I just heard your father saying he wants to bless Esav. Let's go, fast. So Yaakov says, listen, I have to go to the mikveh first. There's no time. I want to say Tehillim. I want to do something. I want to do tshuva. There is no time. Yaakov Avinu Mamish knew he didn't prepare himself and walks in with a broken heart. Everyone thinks, when you read Pshat and you'd hear, Reb Shlomo says he walked in with a broken heart. Why would you think he's walking with a broken heart? Oh, because it feels so bad to have to do something deceitfully. No. He walked in with a broken heart because he didn't feel he was worthy for such a bracha. This changes the whole pshat of looking at the story of this bracha, and especially at the state of mind, state of heart, whatever the state of being, the Yaakov Avinu was in. Now let me ask you, do you know why the whole story of the brachas was completely holy? Meaning why this whole story is so holy. If you walk in and you say, I prepared myself, I deserve it. Evil says, listen, you're right. That's what I told you all your life. This is exactly what I was trying to explain to you. You are so special. You're ahead of your time. You're 100 years ahead of your time. Just wait. Next year I'll put you on the cover of Life magazine. You deserve to be seen. But if you walk in to receive the blessings, and you say, oh, Eve, I didn't prepare myself. I don't deserve it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Evil can't walk in with you. Evil can't walk in with you. Evil can't walk in with you when you walk in feeling like you didn't prepare anything. Now here, there's something very beautiful. Does anyone suffer from the nerve trauma, the nervous trauma of either the day of Rosh Hashanah, day before Rosh Hashanah, or Rosh Hashanah night, or even more is obviously Yom Kippur night, Kol Nidre? Did you ever see someone walk inside prepared? And unfortunately, yes. Like, the answer could be yes, right? Definitely. I am prepared. I did it and I feel prepared for Yom Kippur. It's a very, very scary thing. But you know what happens to us? And I'm saying this, just take it for what it's worth. We abuse the privilege of not feeling prepared. We abuse that holy zchut of getting to Yom Kippur and feeling like I haven't done a thing in the world. Why? Because then it starts playing mind games with our heads, saying, well, is God going to forgive me or not? And then you're stuck in that trip for the next 25 hours, keeping on checking, like, is it working? Is this working or not? I don't know. But if you walk in knowing that you, tachlis, did prepare, you were Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Seis Yemei Tshuva, Tashlich, whatever it is, you did whatever it is, and then you stand before God, and you really feel like you haven't prepared, Yavad, are you ready for Yom Kippur? Are you ready for anything in life? I mean, let's say you took, it's easy for us Abbas to say this, but you took all the what do you call it, Lamaz, right? Those courses, birthing prep, and even you know, forget that, even getting married. You know, I remember when I met with a few friends of mine right before I got married, so I told them, you know, because I really was a very focusing few tkufa in life period, like especially the engagement, and I said, yeah, I really feel, you know, I'm ready to get married. And they looked at me and started cracking up. Because what is a guy that was never married, how can he say he's ready to get married? What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. You're ready for something that you have absolutely no idea how to do until you do it? So the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't expect us to like say we're prepared for the utmost. The utmost is beyond, we don't even know what the utmost is. But what is one thing that we could know? That no matter how much we prepare, we're never ready. You're never ready. See, even if Yaakov got a chance to go to the mikveh and say to him and doing all that, I guarantee Rabbi Shlomo would still say, he still wasn't ready. Not for those things in life that matter the most. So if you find yourself Erev Yom Kippur, and you're like, oy vey, I'm so not there. Like, check yourself. Are you saying that because you once learned on a Monday night in October that that's what you're supposed to say and then it works? Or are you really in a zone of like, bring it on, but I'm just telling you, I really am not ready. And then, whatever happens, happens, you know? It's a different ballgame. Okay, now let's go much deeper, he says. And this really is what I wanted to get to in the Shiur. The text is a bit longer than usual tonight, but it's really important. Whenever the Torah says something for the first time, this is the headquarters for what it's talking about. We've learned this with the concept of prayer. First time we find that someone prayed for somebody else in the Torah was when? Avram davening for Sdom. Very good. By the way, what's the first time we find a prayer in the Torah? Someone praying.
Avram.
Before that?
No.
Before Sdom. Before Avram praying for Sdom. Huh? Noach doesn't daven. What's that? No, from the Pshat of the Torah. I'm not talking about the Midrashim. Hagar. Pretty freaky, right? Hagar. What's the first time someone gives someone a bracha in the Torah? Our Parsha. It's our Parsha. First time someone gives someone else a bracha is the headquarters for We're going to talk about something else actually, but the first time anyone gives someone else a bracha is this parsha also. And whenever something happens for the first time in the parsha, that week leading up to it, for that thing that happens for the first time, is a strong week for that thing. That's why make sure that you receive a lot of brachas this week and that you give a lot of brachas this week. Oh, I'm not worthy. Exactly. That's great, okay? Who am I to give a bracha? That's the person you want a bracha from. If you come to somebody random and say, give me a bracha, and he goes like that, unless he's a Kohen, I'd be a little bit, like after concerts all the time, kids or parents say, can you give my kid a bracha? And I always say, listen, I'm a Kohen, and that's why I have to do this right now. Obviously. Nothing else, I don't have anything else going on here, but this is the week to ask, this is very strong, the asking for brachas this week, and giving brachas this week, because this Shabbos is the headquarters of a father giving a son. And, this is very important, sometimes we grow up with certain traditions and we're sure that the whole world does it, because what we know from home is we think this is how the rest of the world is, until we realize, it wasn't exactly like this. Like when I first left home and I realized, I started hanging out with, the bachelor scene in Yerushalayim, I was traumatized because, for many understandable reasons, but, for one reason was that my friends never made sure they'd call home on Friday to get brachas from their father, which to me was like eating pork. Meaning that's how, honestly, that's how foreign that concept was to me, that you didn't get a bracha from your father on Friday. So it hit me so deep that Rabbi Shlomo also said that what made him a little bit of a yid was looking up at his father, when his father would give him a bracha Erev Yom Kippur, and he'd see the tears pouring down. He said, if I'm a yid, if there's one reason I'm a yid, it's really because of that. So I know my brother, my sisters, they always taught me, Mamish never missed a Shabbos. I remember one time I was in Australia and my father was in somewhere else. I don't know, it just didn't happen, but we somehow knew that the moment that Shabbos was happening, I imagined him giving me a bracha, and he actually gave me a bracha right around then. It's crazy. So anyway, even if you never gave a bracha, and even if you never asked for a bracha from your parent, this would be the perfect week to call home on Friday. The perfect week. The first time a father gives a bracha to his son. On Shabbos we notice something very deep, someone spoke in Shul. Avram never gives a bracha to Yitzchak. It's weird. And right after Avram dies, the Torah says that God blessed Yitzchak, his son. It's very interesting. God blesses Yitzchak, and Yitzchak continues that blessing to Yaakov. Anyway, keep that in mind this Shabbos. Now let's go much deeper. Again, whenever the Torah says something for the first time, this is the headquarters for what it's talking about. We find the headquarters for the concept of time, our concept of time, by Shabbos. But not just the general concept of time, but the concept of a split second. What's he talking about? The concept of a split second. By Shabbos it says, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker, Yom HaShishi. It was night, it was morning, Friday, the sixth day. And right after that, right after the Torah says it was Friday, it says, Vayechulu HaShamayim V'aretz V'chol Tzva'am, which is, what is that? That's already Shabbos. We say that's how we bring in the Kiddush. Vayechulu, God finished creating heaven and earth. We don't know exactly when Shabbos begins, so we have to make up 18 minutes in between Bein Hashmashas, because we're afraid to get it wrong. Meaning we're afraid we're going to mess up with knowing exactly when Shabbos comes in. Nobody knows exactly when this billionth of a split second of Shabbos is beginning. Only God knows, and it's supposed to be like this. You're not supposed to know exactly when it's taking place. This is it's a very mysterious concept. We're so into time. Everything is timing. Everything is times. Daniel, you're big on the timings. Baruch Hashem, we live in a olam hazeh. We need to know when shul is, when shul isn't. Adlakas neros, everything. But the actual moment of when it happens, is beyond time and space. Let me ask you something. If you can tell me when the exact moment you fell in love with your spouse, that means that it was a very, what's the word? That means that you were conscious. That means that that moment was a mind thing where I realized, now I am in love. No. You don't know when you really fell in love with the person you love the most. A, because hopefully it keeps on happening all the time. But B, is that you can't put your finger on those things which are most meaningful in life. You can't say it exactly happened here. You can't know exactly the second Shabbos took place. Look at this. The second time you find the concept of a split second taking place in the Torah is by Yaakov and Esav. You know what I see a little bit confusing? I want to go back for a second. The Torah says, Vayerev vayevoker yom hashishi. By the way, Friday was a pretty busy day. The first Friday, there was a lot going on. In fact, I think it's in the intro, in Rabbi Shlomo. You know what? Did we put it in here? I wonder if we. Oh my God! I can't believe this. I can't believe it's not in here. This is what we put out a few years ago. Oh my God! I can't believe it. Well, you know what? We're just finishing the Hebrew now. We're putting out the Hebrew, Bezrat Hashem. This year, I got to put it in. Rabbi Shlomo sang Friday at a concert once in 1972 in Los Angeles. He sang out Friday, meaning at 10 o'clock this happened, at 11 o'clock, like mamish. At 2:30 the brothers killed each other. Like he really went through every single hour. It's mind-blowing. And then at 4 p.m. Adam cried. At 5 p.m. he discovered tshuva. Like he goes through Friday. Friday is crazy. You think Shabbos is Friday's nuts. Friday's nuts. And the truth is, till today, Friday is nuts because so much happened on Friday. So many emotions took place for the first time on Friday. Friday's crazy. So, when the Torah says, and then, it means this is Friday, and then it says, the next pasuk means, and God completed everything that He did, and that already means that Shabbos started. Meaning there's no definitive time exactly when that moment is. That's what we mean. Okay? Now, by the way, it doesn't say Vayerev Vayevoker Yom HaShvi'i, right? It doesn't say Vayerev Vayevoker, there was morning, there was night, there was morning, seventh day. Because it's beyond time. Knowing exactly when it is. Let me ask you something. Shabbos is one day of the week, or it's 1.5 days of the week? It's 1 day of the week. I thought days are 24 hours. Shabbos is never 24 hours. Why? Because of this inyan of those things which are most blissful. You can't say that exactly happens here and exactly happens here. For instance, just something we've said so many times over the years. Remember the 3-star Yidlach? We've learned it many times, right? The 3-star Yidden. What are the 3-star Yidden? People that keep Shabbos. Shabbos is they're checking from Shabbos out 5:20, from 5:05 there's a watch out, like a mishmeret, the people going outside to see if 3 stars came out, so they know we were Yotzei Shabbos. Like Rabbi Shlomo said, a guy goes out on a date with a girl. He's told that to date a girl respectfully, without hurting her feelings, is at least 45 minutes. From the 35th minute, he's checking his watch. 45 minute comes, he's like, I did it, thank you very much. That couple's not going to get married, and if they do, it's going to stink. Okay? So Rabbi Shlomo says, that's like us with Shabbos sometimes, to see if it came out or not. Okay? So again, now we're again inside here. The second time you find the concept of a split second is by Yaakov and Esav. At the very split second that Yaakov walked out from receiving the bracha from Yitzchak, Esav walked in. Mamish, I think he talks about revolving door. The Parshanim say this. It says, Vayhi ach yatsa yatsa. Literally, The second Yaakov goes out is the second that Yitzchak came in, and the pasuk says this. Vayehi ach yatso yatsa. At the moment that Yaakov leaves, Esav left from the field and came inside. Split second it took place. Before that, Esav had no admission. He simply couldn't get in till the moment Yaakov left. Look inside. Now listen to this. The strangest thing is that while Yaakov was in there receiving the blessing, Esav could have walked in at any second. If he would have walked in while Yaakov was there, he would have killed him on the spot. And now Rabbi Shlomo says like this, not only would he have killed Yaakov, he would have killed their father Yitzchak as well. So the Torah says, Vayehi ach yatso. At that very instant, when Yaakov was just walking out, Esav walks in. The Zohar Kodesh says that Yitzchak just couldn't finish blessing Yaakov. He just couldn't tear himself away from blessing him. Because there's a whole other teaching in Rabbi Shlomo where he says, when you start to bless someone you love, you start to realize how much you actually love them. And when you start to realize how much you love someone while you're blessing them, you can't stop blessing them. That's, Yitzchak always knew that he loved Yaakov. Yitzchak knew Yitzchak knew that he loved Esav. He wasn't aware at all as to how much he loved Yaakov. And only when he starts blessing him, and it feels so good, he couldn't stop. So that's why the Zohar says he just couldn't tear himself away from giving a bracha to his son Yaakov. So two angels came, and they stopped Yitzchak from continuing to bless Yaakov. This is what the Zohar Kodesh says. And our Holy Father Yitzchak had a revolving door to his room, and at that very instant that Yaakov was walking out, Esav was coming in. So, the Zohar says, now why are we learning all this? This is great for nice details and cash Torahs, but tachlis, what does this mean to us? What do we learn from these moments and instances and this happening exactly? What is everything? So the Zohar says that this whole episode of the blessings was mamash on the level of Shabbos. That's why we said before, had Yaakov not received the bracha from Yitzchak, Yiddishkeit's done. Just like we know, if we would go 6 days without Shabbos, we're done. And you're not alive until you have Shabbos in your life. You're nothing. I was with Rav Yitzchak Ginsburg this past Motzei Shabbos in Kfar Chabad, and he kept on saying, he was talking about the difference between very good non-Jewish music and Jewish music. He says, I'm not going to do it, I can do a whole invitation, it's not for now, but he basically said, the moment, do you know what a nigun is? Beethoven is nothing. Nothing. Now, I was sitting next to Shuli Rand was there, Dani Zamir, Ariel Zilber was sitting right next to him, and he kept on, I was saying, and his leg was kicking me. I'm like, he couldn't take it, because, how could you say Beethoven is nothing? Obviously, it's not nothing, but in comparison, like if you have one nigun, it's nothing. It is nothing. It's not that it's bad. It just doesn't mean anything. So for us, everything means something only because Shabbos. That brings meaning to the world. If we didn't have Shabbos, the Yom HaShvi, this concept of one day which is beyond time, nothing. There would be no meaning in anything in life. Nothing. If you don't have, this is another Torah, remember the Torah of the first, what's first by you? Remember we were learning this years ago. If you don't have something that's most important in your life, that's most special in your life, you have nothing. If everything is nice, and even if everything is special, nothing's really special. What makes the other things special is that there's one thing in life which is most special. This is a deeper thing. It's definitely kedai to look in Rabbi Shlomo on the Parshat Toldot, where it says, "What's first by you?" It's a Torah from Seder night, which he ties into Parshat Toldot. Remember, the whole Parsha is about the fighting over the firstborn, right? Who's firstborn? It's a whole story of the Bechorah, of the firstborn. But anyway, so the Zohar, bottom paragraph. So the Zohar says that this whole episode of the blessings was mamash on the level of Shabbos. Let's say Shabbos starts at 4:29 p.m. on the dot. That's exactly when Shabbos begins. There's nothing you can do about it. So it was mamash like Shabbos, he says. Because at that very instant when Yaakov walked out, Esav walked in. Mamash in that split second, which only God knows exactly the time. Meaning that, just like Friday is done and Shabbos comes in and none of us know about it, that's how miraculous that split second was when Yaakov leaves and Esav walks inside. Now I want you to know, Chaver, if we start messing around with Shabbos and the timings and everything, we've been messing around with our own neshamas as well. So Chazal said, listen, look, this we're not going to let you mess around with. We'll give you these 18 minutes to play around with so that you don't mess up with that split second of when this holiness comes down into the world. Because that moment is so precious. Friends, we have moments like this in life all the time. Like Rabbi Shlomo said last week, sometimes, as much as we have to go through so many different tests in life, sometimes there's one test we have to do that if in that one test we go through, it's like an elevator. We go up all those other tests. We just cruise so much higher. But if we're conscious about it, and we're consciously going in a test and working with our mind and adding up Eitz Hadat, Trivial Pursuit games, then even if we pass the test, we didn't pass it like a winner. We passed it like a loser. Because passing a test like a loser is passing it with your mind and with your intellect. Passing a test like a winner is passing it with mamish, your kishkas and your heart. Okay, so we're going to tie all this, we're going to wrap this up, we're going to tie it all inside. I know this was a lot out here, now it's going to come back inside. The Shevet MiYehuda, that's the son of Reb Leib Eger, says something very deep. What does bliss mean? Bliss means if I reach that place which is beyond me. What would happen to me if I knew the exact moment Shabbos comes in? If I knew this secret of time, then it would be as if I could prepare myself for the exact moment of such holiness. Let me ask you, Chavra, it's Monday. Go back to Friday afternoon right now. Does anyone remember the moment they felt Shabbos coming in? Go back to any Friday in your life. Why can't you ever tell me at what moment Shabbos came in? Except if you're like...
I think for women it's different though. Because for me, when I take my hands off my eyes, Shabbos is in. So I don't know the...
But did it really... Is it in?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I don't...
By you it is, definitely. Right. By you it is. I hear that. Even though that's not really the time. Meaning it could be. I mean, you could also, if you have in mind, you could go into a car afterwards, even if you lit candles, right? If you have it in mind that you're... So that means it's not really in. Okay, so men. Nebuch, men. The lower class. Economy. We've got out of business class, we're in economy right now. Okay? Chevra. Even if the 18 minutes, and even if even if we're chain smokers, and I know exactly when the 18th minute is because I'm there until the last second, right? Even then, you think that 18th minute is the exact moment of Shabbos? It's not clear. As opposed to, when did Minyan start this last Shabbos? Well, I know, it's 9 a.m. And when was Mincha? I know, that was 5 p.m. When was the news on last night and tonight and tomorrow night? Oh, I know, that was 8 p.m. Meaning, those things that I don't need to have big vessels to receive are all exactly on time. That's what we're trying to say here. Don't be freaked out by the fact that you can't pinpoint feelings and that you can't pinpoint emotions. It's supposed to be like that. You're not supposed to feel prepared Erev Yom Kippur. It's bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. You know, it pains me. What have we done with Yiddishkeit? We've made everything so like, I'm not going to say time-bound, but on a spiritual level, we made it time-bound. We've made everything like we've mitzamtzem, we've contracted everything. You're not supposed to know everything. You're not supposed to understand everything. It's supposed to be like this. Your emotions, your feelings, you don't know what you're feeling, that's great. Just flow with it. You don't know how it fits into the calendar, into what else you weren't told you're supposed to feel like this about a certain holiday, Shabbos, biblical figure. Just be with what you're feeling for a second. As long as you're not violating halacha or hurting anyone's feelings, just be with it. This is your Torah Sheba'al Peh. You're not supposed to know exactly everything. You're not supposed to understand why you're feeling everything.
Is it like Moshe Rabbeinu saying Kuchatzot?
It's exactly that. Rabbi Shlomo says that somewhere else. It's exactly that. Moshe Rabbeinu himself doesn't know when midnight is. Because what happened that midnight, the night we left Egypt? We left slavery. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Vayehi kechatzot halayla. And Reb Nachman has a whole turn in this Likutei Moharan. It's, what time are we leaving? Well, kechatzot, like midnight. I'm so happy you said this. It's like midnight, meaning, I don't know, maybe it's around that time, but can you imagine if everyone knew exactly the moment? I am now leaving 210 years of slavery. And you walk, these things, it's crazy. You can't relate to a world like this. Those moments are just way beyond. Kachatzot halayla. Again, I want to say this paragraph. What does oneg, what does bliss mean? Bliss means if I reach that place which is beyond me. What would happen to me if I knew the exact moment Shabbos comes in? If I knew this secret of time, then it would be as if I could prepare myself for the exact moment of such holiness. Like, imagine we knew exactly the moment that God forgives you on Yom Kippur. Imagine the exact moment you become free Seder night. Imagine the exact moment you really become one with your spouse. Then it's as if you could prepare for it. It's beyond that. It's beyond time and space. But you see what it is? The whole thing of Shabbos is beyond me, that I don't know how I'll get into Shabbos. I don't deserve it. I didn't prepare myself. It's just that God gives it to me. And that is bliss. And that is children, Chevra. You want to say that you can stand before God after looking at your child and say, based on the way they acted today and the way they look, I know what I did in my life to deserve to be this person's parent. We know that's impossible. We know that's impossible. For other things in life, that chashiva, that way of thinking works. Not for those things which we would do anything in the world for. Now listen to something very deep. If anything good happens to me and I think I deserve it, and I think I prepared myself for it, I might have joy, but I'll never experience bliss. This is what we're getting to. And this is the difference between sasan and simcha. Simcha is joy. Sasan, Rabbi Shlomo said this under so many chuppahs. Kol sasan v'kol simcha. Married couples have to have the inyan of, I know when it's your birthday, I have to take care of that, and anniversaries and all these dates and the olam hazeh stuff. We have to experience those simcha things together. But kol sasan comes first. Bliss, those things that I'm never prepared for. Those moments I'm never worthy of. That's much greater. Kol sasan v'kol simcha. Bliss is if I absolutely know I don't deserve it. What a gift. What a gift. And alavai, we should look at everything in life like a gift. Bezrat Hashem. Because when you look at everything like a gift, then you have a chance to experience everything on a blissful level, and not just on a happiness level. Blissed out. Therefore, on Shabbos, we say, Mekadesh HaShabbos. God is, Baruch Ata Hashem, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shabbos comes from such a place that only God can give it to me. This feeling of bliss, no one can give this to me. It's beyond time and space. Only God could create such a concept in this world. So you see, friends, when it comes to joy, I can know exactly what time I began to be happy. But on the level of bliss, it's something else. If somebody asked me, do you know exactly what time it was when I first began to experience bliss? It's beyond me. I don't know. Only God knows. If I can tell you exactly when I went into a state of bliss, forget it. It wasn't bliss. So I was thinking so much about, so what does this tachlis mean for you and I today? Like, what is this in our lives? Do you know that throwing away your mochin, like putting your mochin on the side, dropping your intellect for even a few minutes, is the trickiest thing in the world? I have to admit something when I confess. We'll end with this. Confession time. Yom Kippur talk. But a little bit of a vidui now. Last week was coming off of Rabbi Shlomo's Yotze was very hard. And I told myself on like Wednesday or Thursday, I said, I want the next 6-7 days, I want to, every time I see that my mind is leading me, with my attitude and my mood, I want to consciously choose to throw away my consciousness and my choice, and my mind leading me into where I'm at right now. And every time that I consciously did that, it didn't work. But when I subconsciously did it, it worked. Meaning every time that I didn't think too much about not thinking, then it worked. Like right now, do not think about my finger. Not one person in this room, obviously, right? But then like, obviously, by now already, 3 seconds later, maybe you stop thinking about my finger because it's just the way it is in life. What does that have to do with anything? To get us through this world, Chavra, I don't know about you, I see this every day. The deeper the person is, the more excruciating pain every person has to go through. What will get us through those moments in life is not joy. It's bliss. Joy is still contained. It's still something that's in the geder, in the realm of Olam Hazeh. But bliss is when I surprise myself that I never dreamed that I could let loose like I'm letting loose. I never dreamed that I could be that person who doesn't get abused and who doesn't get obsessed with all those things that I usually get obsessed with. Being surprised, surprising yourself. You can only surprise yourself through moments of bliss, not through moments of simcha. It's a very, very deep topic. It's a very deep concept. We think that God wants us to be really like Mesudar Yidden, Mesudar Jews that know exactly how things work in this world, to be prepared for at any given moment for anything. And yet our test has never changed. Bitachon, trusting God, means that you're doing all the ishtadlus in the world, but you change the mindset of what sason and what simcha means. That you're open for things to happen like that, and they completely conquer you and control you, but if you're going to sit there and try to make sense of it, and only let it play a role in your life once you make sense of something, fisfasta hakol. You missed everything. You're missing out on everything in life. We all know the mottos, let go, let God. I've heard all of it. They're all great. All those simple things are the deepest, 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 most important things for us today. We realized we can't raise our children with just teaching them what simcha is. We have to somehow pray to be vessels to teach our children how to be Jews who experience sason. Because it's crazy. I hate to say this, do you know that most Karbach minions hate to say this, but it's true. It's true. It's my shallow opinion, but it's true for now, right? Do you know my friend Rav Raz Hartman started a shul in Yerushalayim? Do you know where it was coming from? It's the deepest shul in the world. It doesn't have the same nusach any Shabbos, really. Why? Because people took a concept called a Krabach Minyan, and they think that this is what has to be done every Shabbos. That makes it a non-Krabach Minyan. Mechila, I'm begging Mechila from anyone that might take this the wrong way. But anything that becomes institutionalized, the farthest it could get is simcha, but not bliss. The farthest it can get is joy, and you can know at what nigun you really felt high. But if you're at a minyan that's bliss, then you don't remember any moment. You just know you were floating the whole time. And any shiur you go to, and this is the style of the shiur, and then he goes like that, then he goes like that, even that's still olam hazeh. But those things don't keep Yidden for centuries. You can just hopefully make it through your own door, keeping Yiddishkeit. Not just keeping Yiddishkeit, making Yiddishkeit be like a torch of fire, is when you realize, in the world of halacha, I want to make this very clear, and Reb Nachman spoke about this all the time, that within those Dalet Amos of halacha, you could do anything in the world. We're dealing with very, very deep concepts here. But just, God, it says that Vayhi Adam lenefesh chaya, that when God created man, the Targum says there, L'ruach memalala. God created man, and what differentiates man from animals is the power of speech. He's budgeted us that we could speak out to God, to have Rahmanis on us and give us moments where we truly let ourselves go out of the boundaries of what I think or how I think I should be, what I'm supposed to feel, what I'm not supposed to feel. And those moments are kachatzot halayla. That's when you really leave Egypt, like Moshe Rabbeinu said. You want to get out of your Egypt? It's only kachatzot halayla. Only when you don't plan and define exactly, this is my Yiddishkeit, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. Rabbi Shlomo began every Torah and every story with the words, everybody knows. And he ended every teaching saying, you never know. Why? Because the goal is, essentially, that everybody knows that you never know. You never know exactly what is that moment in life that's most crucial. You don't ever know who that person that's going to show up in your life is going to be the one to lead you to your own little promised land. So if you never know what moment it's going to hit you the most, and if you never know what person is going to touch that nekuda in you like nobody else, treat every moment and every person with that same feeling that you treat the moment Shabbos comes in, that you don't know. Or the moment when Yitzchak finishes that bracha, Kedusha walks out and the evil walks in. Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to feel completely unworthy of all the gifts that God gives us. Look at those things that we really feel are already, well, this is my life, so my children are my life. So we're already a unit, we're already establishment, we're established. And remember those days where you couldn't even dream of what it would be like to put your child to sleep. And if you don't have children yet, you're even luckier on a certain level to understand this Torah. Because God is giving you more and more chances to feel completely unworthy in the holiest way. Okay, we gotta sing one nigun. I did not think we were going there tonight, but we gotta sing one nigun. Thank you, Chavra, for coming. Next week, Shiur will start at 8:30.